Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial, and today I have a very interesting episode for you. Interesting because I'm going to talk about an interview that was published in Indian Express this morning, 1st of March 2022. And this interview is of Amit Shah, the number 2, the brain behind Bharatiya Janata Party, the Chanakya of Bharatiya Janata Party politics. He spoke to Indian Express, and I'm going to take you through a few of the questions that was asked to him and some of the answers that were given to him. I'm going to take you through that. But the most important thing about my editorial today is Amit Shah believes that Yogi Adityanath is the potential prime ministerial candidate for future. Now, Yogi Adityanath, future prime minister, how good is that for India is something that we will discuss at the end of this editorial. Let's get right into the show. So, couple of questions. So, let's go through the questions. We will take a glimpse of his answer and then we will talk about it in a nutshell. The first question that I want to get to your notice is the question where he was asked that there are MLAs who talk about the gap between government and the workers. They were talking about Uttar Pradesh. And to this he answers, it's quite natural. Our party is not undemocratic and we have freedom of expression. But our party is a disciplined party too. Once the election started, everyone fell within the lines of discipline. Today, from the west to the Sonbhadra via Ghaziabad, you will see the entire BJP cadre working together for victory and so on and so forth. This is what he said. Two things is very clear. Two things very, very clear. We've been talking about this rift in Bharatiya Janata Party and its cadre in Uttar Pradesh. And we have been talking about two things. First is the rift, and the reason for this rift is because Yogi Adityanath has been focusing a lot, giving a lot of impetus to bureaucracy rather than giving impetus to elected members of his party. More clout in Yogi government was enjoyed by the bureaucrats, by the IAS lobby, rather than the legislature. So there was a definite rift within the party, and that rift is what he is talking about. And somewhere down the line, I don't think Amit Shah has refuted that this rift exists. Number one. Number two is therefore this rift will show in this election. Now, before I go to the next question, let us be very clear. One thing that I believe about this election is that this election cannot be predicted. Okay, if you look at this election from a BJP prism, you look as if BJP is winning this election. You look at this election from a Samajwadi prism, there's a lot of reasons why Samajwadi could take away and win this election. So the fact is, nobody can predict this election. So whoever tells you whatever that, Samajwadi party is easily winning or BJP is easily winning, my opinion is that is mere guesstimate. I've been saying this before. I tell you this now. This is guesstimate. We'll have to wait till the 10th to understand what the result is. But that being said, the first question, the first answer that we got from Amit Shah is that there is a rift within the Bharatiya Janata Party in Uttar Pradesh. Let us go to a few more exciting questions. Your refrain is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. In 2017 and now, why is BJP not fielding any Muslim candidate? So, while you at one end, the Prime Minister and the Supreme Leader of Bharatiya Janata Party, Mr. Narendra Modi says, he believes in Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas. The question was, why don't you field Muslim candidates? And the answer that Mr. Amit Shah gave was, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas is not a political slogan, it is a policy of this government. It fails if a Muslim family which deserves to get free ration does not get it, if he does not get free gas connection, if he does not get a house under Awas Yojana despite being eligible for one, or when a Hindu residential locality gets electricity connection and a Muslim family does not get it. If this happens, the slogan becomes hollow. I can tell you with confidence, he says, the Indian Express team is good at investigating. You can do a search in entire Uttar Pradesh. You will find that these schemes are implemented without differentiating against anyone on the line of caste or religion. His answers are brilliant. His answers are brilliant. He can think on his foot. He's brilliant when he gives answer. And this answer too is brilliant. But there's a problem. You see, right of representation is the right of every individual, every citizen of this country. A citizen of this country can decide to stand for election. As a national political party giving representation to a community, 19% of people in Uttar Pradesh are Muslims. 19%. So, this 19% Muslims has to be represented in the parliament. It is the job of a political party to ensure that those 19% Muslims are represented in the parliament, and not just saying that, listen, khana milta hai na, ghar milta hai na, pani milta hai na, ration milta hai na, bas. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Of course, are we doing a favor by ensuring that every citizen of this country gets electricity, food and water supply? Are we doing that as a favor? I am afraid it's not a favor. That's what a government is supposed to do. And the government is doing that through our own money. It is our tax money that the government is deploying and ensuring everybody gets their water and electricity and others. So it is not that they are getting from their own house or own party fund, or they are working for it, going outside, working for it, earning that money and giving it. Aisa kuch nahi hai. It is our money that has been spent. That's not what a government is supposed to do. A government is supposed to ensure that there is representation. Every community is represented. And when you don't give a person from a community ticket, you're stopping him or her to represent that particular community. You're stopping that community from having representation in the lawmaking of the state and of the country. And that's not entirely correct. So that's the answer to this. Then the questioner goes on to ask that in November 2020, when a section of Bharatiya Janata Party was linking farm protest to Khalistan, you did say that there was no politics in protest and that the government would talk to farmers. Why did the protest drag so much? This was the question that the Indian Express journalist asked him. And the answer to this was that I think there was some issues with the farmers' organization. Okay, so the mistake was not the government, it was the issues with the farmers' organization. The decision-making process was not so smooth. That's why it took so long. If 40 people come together to take a decision, the process takes time. If there were smaller teams, it would have been easy. Anyway, it is the past now. The government says that the decision for the farm laws or the repeal of farm laws, it took time because it was the mistake of the farmers. There were a lot of farmer unions. There were a lot of people who were representing farmers. So it was very difficult for us to come to a conclusion. You see, the first step towards resolution of a problem is to understand that there was a problem. And unfortunately, I think the government never understood that there was a problem. When the farmers started saying the farm laws, the farm bill, when it was a bill, was not really in favor of, or it is not really good for the farmers, a lot of people in the government, a lot of people in the ruling dispensation, a lot of people from the ruling party, they were not given a ear. Ministers refused to meet the farmers, and we in our channel had constantly mentioned that somewhere down the line it is ego. The problem with farm bill is the fact that the government is not willing to go up to the farmers, sit with them, listen to them, understand them, and then try to resolve it with the aim of resolving it rather than pushing it down their throat. We said that, a lot of people said that. Now, the Prime Minister himself says that we couldn't convince the farmers. That's a different issue. But the fact is, the attempt was never made. By the time they decided to make the attempt, it was too late in the day. So, more than the intention of implementing a law, the government was stuck with the ego and the arrogance of the fact that, listen, we decided, how dare are you protesting against it? That was the first impediment. Second impediment was the fact that the government was not willing to realize, and which I see it even now, that there were flaws in the bill. There were flaws in the bill which didn't really help the farmers of this country. And that's precisely what those people were trying to say, which never was bothered. Nobody bothered to listen to that. So initially it was pushing it down to their throat. When they realized it just can't happen, then they had to repeal it. So basically it was not about decisions. I think the first blame for Farmers Bill and Farmers Bill turning into the act and then later on being repealed, I think the first blame should go to the government, and the government should accept that, saying that, listen, initially we were arrogant. To a certain extent, the Prime Minister said it so. He didn't say that we were arrogant, but what he said is we couldn't convince the farmers. And I think that is the right answer. They couldn't convince the farmers because they were arrogant and they didn't want to succumb to the fact. They didn't want to accept the fact that the farmers were right. So that's the point here. Now let me go to our next question, next interesting question. The next interesting question is, some issues between the center and the state endured for decades. Non-BJP states have issues with their governors. They allege interference. To which he said, I think the constitution is clear on center-state relationships. If you read the constitution carefully, you will understand if there is any interference. There is no confusion in the constitution. Of course, there is no constitution in the constitution. There is no confusion in the constitution. Now, this word itself is confusing. Confusion in the constitution. Anyway, there is no confusion. The confusion is in the minds of the center. The fact is Mamata Banerjee happy with the governor? No. Is Uddhav Thackeray happy with the governor? No. Is Stalin happy with the governor? No. Was Puducherry happy with the governor? No. Why is that every state which is having a non-BJP chief minister not happy with the governor? Why is that the people are not happy with the governor? Is that every other state, every other chief minister is anti Kerala, Pinarayi Vijayan not happy with the governor? Is that every state which is non-BJP government do not understand how to deal with the governor? Is that so? And every state, every BJP chief minister is very happy with the governor, Baba. So the fact remains that there is some rift. There is some rift not only between the governor and the chief minister, there is rift between the central enforcement agencies and the state enforcement agencies. Today, there is a wedge between the central enforcement agencies and the state enforcement agencies. There is a wedge between the central enforcement agencies and the state governments. These are dangerous path we are treading in. And this path is going to lead us to a very dangerous end. I hope the Home Minister and Mr. Amit Shah and the Prime Minister understands this. So, while we say that we are all following the constitution and all, sounds all right, but when this is going to blow up, it is going to blow up big time. That's something that these people need to realize. Okay, let's go to the next interesting question, which is all parties opposing BJP are branded anti-national. So, what a good question. All parties, people, everybody opposing BJP is branded anti-national, to which he says, we never called anyone anti-national, we never called any party anti-national, but if any party indulges in supporting anti-nationals, we will expose them. It's our responsibility. Yeah. They never called any party anti-national or anyone anti-national, but the fact is they decide who is anti-national. So, if you support the people who they decide to be anti-national, then you are anti-national. So, it is very simple. हम बोलेगा anti-national कौन है? जो anti-national है, the person who is anti-national. So, if we say this man is anti-national, then he should not be touched. Whether you like him, whether he's a good man, whether he's been proved to be anti-national or not proved to be anti-national or whatever. They decide who is anti-national. And that person has to be treated like that. So, the fact is, somewhere down the line, Bharatiya Janata Party since 2014 has taken the responsibility and the authority and as working as the certification agency to be for all the anti-nationals that India has. So, they now are the certifying agency of anti-nationals. They certify who is anti-nationals. So, therefore, how do they certify anti-national? People who are against BJP are anti-nationals. So, you see, it's a vicious circle. All that comes to the same point. While, you say that, we don't call anybody anti-national, but if you support anti-national, then you are an anti-national, and we decide who is the anti-national. So, zoom, that's a big circle. So that's where he says, that's what his answer was, and that's what the point is. Now, another interesting question is about the jobs. The job sector is still disappointing, asks the Indian Express journalist. To which he says, do not look at the job sector as communist, who considers only government's job to employment. This is not correct. There is a difference between jobs and employment. We have improved the employment situation. It's natural that people talk about jobs, but you have to understand the difference. There are so many startups. We have improved e-marketing opportunities. Awesome. First of all, he says, don't behave like communist. Don't behave like communist. Don't think that, it is only government's job to get you jobs. Don't think that. That is wrong. See, okay, before I get into logic and all that, let us first understand. It was the same government, the same Prime Minister of India, and when he was campaigning in 2014, he said, I will get 10 crore jobs. If what Mr. Amit Shah is saying is correct, and it was not government's job to get jobs, then why did he say that? Why did he say that I am going to create 10 crore employment per year? He should have said that, but employment malum nahi hai, Baba. That is not our job. That is somebody else's job. Okay, he should have said that. But then he said it is his job. Now he says it is not his job. So let us start with that. Now let's come to the next point. You see, the government's job is to create the economy of this country. This country's economy is regulated by the government. And only the government. A Tata cannot regulate this country's economy, neither can a Reliance. They can all be tools to regulate the economy. No matter how big a company you are, or no matter how close you are to the government, you cannot change the economy of this country. These are tools. The government controls the economy of this country. The government controls the economy of money. The government controls the demand. The government controls the supply. And therefore, the government has a huge say on the job, on employment creation. This is basics of economics. This is basics of economics. It is the job of the government to ensure that the people are educated. It is the job of the government to ensure that people have good health. It is the job of the government that people get jobs, that people are employed. The government cannot say that, Baba, they say, मुझे नहीं मालूम बाबा, वो डॉक्टर लोग देखना चाहिए health का. Why should the government be? Tomorrow government will say, अरे why? Let the doctor go and see the health. No, why can government? We are doctors or what? Or the doctor will say, teachers have to teach. Teachers have to build school. What can we do? We are government. We are not supposed to teach children, are we? That's not how it works, does it? The fact remains that the body that controls the economy controls the status of the jobs. So somebody saying that, bhai, mera kaam nahi hai job, is technically incorrect. So I think our good Home Minister should be made aware that creation of jobs is the government's job. Creation of employment is the government's job. And they can use tools to ensure that jobs are created, but end of the day, it is their jobs. Okay, another question that he asked is that, do you think political parties need to communicate to young that the government isn't the only source of jobs? So I think, I don't know whether that was a sarcastic question or that was a real question. The journalist asked, then should we communicate to the youth that it is not the government's job to create jobs? To which he says, it is not for the parties, it's also for newspaper. It is the responsibility of everyone. The anger comes when people do not have the confidence in the leadership they have. But people have the confidence in the Prime Minister Modi and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. They may express anger, but they trust their intention. That confidence will help us win the election in Uttar Pradesh. I think when the journalist asked him, so, then what political party should say, calm, which is what I agree to his question. That means the political party should say, calm, dene ka kaam hamara nahi hai, baba. It is not our work. So to which our good Home Minister said, no, it is not that. It is the job of the media. So we are supposed to tell you that, listen, you know what, his job, and all, don't go to government. It is not government's job. That is what he expects the media to say. I will not say, but that is what he expects media to say. And He says that, you see, the problem starts if you don't have confidence in your Prime Minister and confidence in your Chief Minister. In this case, there is tremendous confidence in Mr. Modi and Mr. Yogi Adityanath. So yeah, things will work out. So that's what he says. Now to the $1 million question, which is what I said we'll discuss for 2 minutes. The journalist asks, there are some who mentions Adityanath as a future prime ministerial candidate. To which the Home Minister says, hear this carefully, to which the Home Minister says, naturally, so much work has been done under him. After so many years, UP got 30 medical colleges. We will see to it that every district has one. The state has 2 AIIMS, while a research center for Japanese encephalitis has been constructed. The BJP government has built 10 new universities, opened 77 new colleges. Our government has also reconstructed and redeveloped 1.4 lakh colleges across Uttar Pradesh. He says, so much has been done in terms of education, in terms of health. Of course, he says, Yogi Adityanath is the future prime ministerial candidate. Now, good for him. But would it be good for the country? Yogi Adityanath is seen as a Hindu leader. Yogi Adityanath is seen as a leader who believes in Hindutva as an ideology. Now there is a conflict. The conflict is the Constitution of India doesn't believe that we are a Hindu Rashtra. The Constitution of India believes that we are a secular nation. And if the Prime Minister starts believing, I believe, future Prime Minister or future Prime Ministerial candidate starts believing in Hindu Rashtra, that this is a Hindu land, then the Prime Minister starts conflicting with the Constitution. Number 1. Number 2, the world knows India as a secular country. The world respects India as a secular country. The world talks about Indian leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, like Jawaharlal Nehru, like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, like Vallabhbhai Patel, who were secular leaders. The world knows India as a secular country. And all of a sudden, if you have a prime ministerial candidate, or if he becomes a prime minister tomorrow, who is propagating Hinduism and Hinduism alone, a Prime Minister who, when he was a Chief Minister of the state and head of the party in the state, never allowed a single Muslim, never gave opportunity to a single Muslim to stand for the state election from his party. If you are going to have that kind of a prime ministerial candidate, think about how the world is going to view India. And if the world views India as a fundamental Hindu Rashtra, let us start thinking how the world is going to trade with India. What India are we going to see in the future if we have somebody like a Yogi Adityanath as a prime ministerial candidate, probably a future prime minister? I leave it to you to decide. Write down your comments in the comment box below, and please remember to subscribe to our channel. Please remember that your contributions, your subscription makes a lot of difference to us, because we pay our bills with that. So your subscription, important. Please ensure that you subscribe to our channel. Log on to www.hwnews.in and help us to talk without fear or favor. Thank you. Namaskar.
नफरतों का बाजार, सपनों का कारोबार जारी है। अच्छे दिन तो झांकी थे, अमृतकाल अब बाकी है। मन की बात आप तक पहुंचती है, लेकिन आपकी आवाज का क्या? जिन्हें लोकतंत्र का चौथा स्तंभ कहते थे, वे अब सत्ता की गोद में हैं, सत्ता के सामने नतमस्तक हैं। लेकिन अब भी कुछ आवाजें हैं, बेखौफ, बेबाक, जिन पर लोगों को भरोसा है। चेहरा बदला है, तेवर वही है। देखिए मुझे, सतीश शाह को HW न्यूज़ पर।